Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, and I'm your host. And you know, in Virginia, and we've talked about this on a lot of our shows, we have a lot of elections in Virginia. We have them regularly every year, and then we've got specials and all kinds of stuff. And so we're going to talk about that as we go through the show, because we've got some elections coming up. But what we really want to talk about is the meet and greet opportunities that the League of Women Voters and some of their collaborative partners have put together for this fall's election, for the federal elections. We've got U.S. senators, we've got congressmen, and so we are very pleased to have Olga Hernandez with us. She has been with the League of Women Voters for a long time. She has been the president of the League of Women Voters of Virginia, and she is currently on the state board. She helped organize televised gubernatorial and U.S. Senate debates in the past, and she's going to talk about what they're doing in that. She has also served with the Help America Vote Act Committee for Virginia, the Virginia State Board of Elections Residency Task Force, the State Census Complete Count Committee. She's an officer of the Virginia Coalition for Open Government and the League of Women Voters of the National Capital Area. And she also served on the Fairfax County Bipartisan Election Improvement Commission. So she is enormously qualified to be here with us tonight. So welcome for coming, Olga.
Thank you very much for having us.
Well, you were involved in the League for a long time. So what caused you to decide you wanted to get involved?
I think being involved in the government that sets your taxes and sets your school policies is very, very important. And the citizens that are not involved give up their voice. So
that's true.
I've always been involved in elections. I'm an election officer, have been for 25 years all over the country. And so I think this is very important. And getting the word out to citizens is equally as important, and the League is a great voice for doing that.
Now, I want to make sure I understand. The League is nonpartisan, right? You're not affiliated with either party.
The League of Women Voters was founded coming out of the suffrage movement, where women got the vote in 1920. It was founded in 1920 to become a nonpartisan education organization. Our main mission is to educate voters about what is on the ballot and what do we do to get the information out to folks. We've been organizing debates and candidate forums and issue forums for years and years. The meet and greets is the most recent format to get a less formal forum for the citizens to meet their potential elected candidates.
So when you say it's going to be a less formal forum, what's it going to be like if somebody comes to one of the meet and greets?
Well, all 14 candidates that are on the 3 congressional districts that cover Fairfax County have been invited. Basically, they come in, they have an opening statement. Whoever is running against them has their opening statement, and then there will be questions from the audience. It's very informal. There is some timing, but it's not like a rebuttal debate and with more stringent rules.
Now, because you've done this before, you've done the meet and greet format in the past, right?
Yes.
And that worked out, people behaved themselves. I mean, when you say less formal in today's environment, you sometimes think, ooh, that might not work.
No, we've really always had a good organization. Mm-hmm. We do partner with other organizations to bring more citizens in and spread the word. In our area, it's sometimes hard to get local information out because we are the background of the national capital area. And so we partner with other organizations. The informality allows the candidates a more relaxed forum, and it allows people a more relaxed location to be able to speak to the candidates. We have organized these in the different congressional districts so that they are geographically more accessible, so people can go to a 7 o'clock meeting that's not too far from their neighborhood.
Okay, so the timing of it is going to be 7 o'clock to 9?
To 9, 9:30. Some start at 7, some starts at 7:30. There's a complete list on our website.
Okay, can you give us the website for our folks?
The website is lwv-fairfax.org.
Okay. So if I show up at this, am I going to have to raise my hand and ask a question? Is this going to be written out on note cards?
Generally, we pass out note cards so that different subjects can be covered. The cards are passed to a committee of people who make sure that the questions asked are diverse and we cover a broad spectrum of topics, not only one topic that might be the hot topic of the night, because Congress handles a wide variety of things.
So will it be the type of thing where does the incumbent always get to go first? If there's I guess we only have one incumbent, Jerry
We basically
Conley.
draw names from a hat,
Okay.
so that there's an equality there. Not always the incumbent goes first, and so, but everybody in the particular election, like if we're covering the 8th and the 10th congressional district, all of the candidates in the 8th district will speak at the same time. And then take questions, and then the 10th district.
Oh, and so do they all get the same? Because it's all congressional, so do
Yes.
they all get, if someone poses a question about veterans, that's a hot topic, all of those people then have to answer the question?
There's a variety of questions the way they're asked, but yes, we'll touch a wide variety of the topics, not just the veterans' hot topic of the day.
And I understand. I just want to make sure that when you've got two, you've got candidates up there that if someone says, well, I want to ask, Congressman Conley this question, and you've got the 10th people with the 11th people, that the 10th people are answering it, so people see the question across congressional districts. Okay. And then what happens, because Congress is in session, what happens if there's a meet and greet scheduled and Jerry Conley, who's the incumbent, can't come?
He has the opportunity to send a surrogate, which is the informality of this format versus a debate, which we would not allow a surrogate. But he would be able to send a surrogate to read a statement. That surrogate couldn't take questions because they're not the candidate, but they would be able to be represented.
Okay, so this is federal meet and greets. You've got this extensive schedule.
Yes.
And lots of them. So is it, when I went, because you did some meet and greets last year that I went to, and there were certain candidates who never came. And have you got commitments from people that they'll show up at least to one?
Of the 14 candidates that will appear on the ballot in the three different congressional districts, we have commitments from 12.
Oh,
we are waiting commitment from 2. One of them is Congressman Connolly, because his answer is he's not sure if Congress will be in session, although he lives in the backyard. So I don't think that that's going to be a big problem for him.
Hopefully not. I mean, that is the issue I've seen over the years with incumbents of all varieties, is if Congress is still in session at 7 o'clock or even 6 o'clock.
And he will have a couple of opportunities, not just one.
Right, which I thought was good, because it is
to appear at different meet and greets.
It does allow
people to do that. He has a very geographically weirdly drawn district.
Well, he goes all the way into Prince William.
Yes.
So. Now, are you doing any in Prince William?
Yes, we are. Okay. We are doing one in Prince William at Westminster Lake Ridge.
Okay.
Okay. So we will be doing that.
All right. So even though it's the League of Women Voters Fairfax, you are going and working with people in these other jurisdictions.
Right.
Because the 10th also goes down into Loudoun. So you have something down in Leesburg, somewhere
yes.
in there? Okay.
So we're trying to cover the different jurisdictions. Another thing that we do beyond the meet and greets is we will have a voter's guide where the candidates will all be asked a set of questions, and their answers will be published in the Fairfax Times verbatim the way they set them out. We do not edit. We only give them a word limit.
Okay.
And so that will be published a couple of weeks before the election. And so people that could not get to a meet and greet at least will have that available for them, and it'll be also on our website.
And then how are you going to advertise this? Are you doing like a social media campaign? How are you going to get the word out?
We have it on our website. We have it on our Facebook pages. We are partnering with other organizations who have extensive distribution lists. We have done news releases about it. So, we're trying, and this is one of the venues that we're trying to get the word out.
Excellent. What else are you guys doing in terms of, because the League of Women Voters does lots of different things other than the meet and greets for
the
this
meet
year.
and greets will cover the congressional districts.
Okay.
At the state level, we are partnering with AARP to organize a U.S. Senate debate, which would be televised statewide. Currently, the default is the Lawyers Association, which actually met in West Virginia, and the two main main party candidates met out there. They will participate probably with the Chamber of Commerce in Fairfax County, and ours would be the only one that would be televised. Both candidates that have polled beyond the 15% mark have been invited, and we are awaiting the current senator to respond.
Okay.
The Republican candidate has already agreed to participate, and this would be done at the studios in Richmond and televised statewide on a lot of PBS and CBS stations.
Well, we can expect Mark Warner, the incumbent, to make the effort. I mean, as I recall, they always manage to find time for your debates.
Again, we hope that he will. We have approached him. We hand delivered the invitations, and so we are just waiting for him. And we do have a deadline because, as you know, production takes
Yes, it
time,
does.
and the television stations that we partner with need to know and schedule the dates. Currently, the scheduled date is October 13th, which is the Columbus Day weekend.
Oh, excellent.
That Monday.
And is that going to be during the day? Is that in the evening?
It's generally in the evening because, again, it is broadcast live.
Okay, and so will there be an opportunity for the people in the Richmond area to come and watch it, or is it going to be just in a studio?
There will be
broadcast.
some limited opportunity because it is done in a studio. There's not enough room for just an open audience.
Okay.
And so each candidate will get a certain number of tickets. Each organization we partner with will get a certain number of tickets.
Okay.
So,
And tell us again the place on your website. What's your website address where people can get the meet and greet?
the meet and greets are listed on our website, lwv-fairfax.org.
Well, I want to thank you. You're going to come back a little bit later to talk about some other things, but I appreciate you talking to us about the meet and greets. And we are going to be taking a break, and then we're going to come back with some of the partners who are working with the League of Women Voters. Stay with us.
This is firstgov.gov, where we're obsessed with getting you government information.
Brand new student loan applications on the site, baby. This calls for a celebration. Here's your uncle.
So in the end, it was either take the astronaut gig or come work here. What can I say? Duty called.
Dude, that's my cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's Sam's cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. Sam's? No.
Just log on or email us and get what you need.
C, change of address form. That's how it's done.
D, driver's license renewal.
E, emailing Social Security information.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice, we'll allow it. All right, Ed.
What are those? Government surplus cars for auction.
You posted those online last time.
No, you did.
I'm posting them online this time!
For all your government information, firstgov.gov.
Oh, what have we got here? Sometimes you feel tired. You can't seem to lose those extra pounds off your midsection. And your joints hurt when you take the stairs. Well, you're getting older. But I'm happy to say that there's some simple things we can do to keep you happy and healthy for years to come. We can also lower your risk for some serious diseases the older population is often subject to. Proper nutrition is more important than ever. Your body has changed, you know. Not as many treats. A basic exercise plan, lots of walks and fresh air, and most importantly, come and see me for twice-yearly checkups to help ensure the best possible quality of life. Now, how does that sound? Good boy.
Improve the quality of life for your elderly pet. Schedule twice-yearly checkups that include preventive care and regular lab work. The message from the veterinary members of the American Animal Hospital Association.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, your host, and I want to, at this point, remind people out there, as I said at the beginning, we have lots of elections in Virginia, and we have one tomorrow, in a matter of fact. So if you are in the 48th House of Delegate District, you were represented by Delegate Bob Brink for something like 19 years, and he recently resigned and has taken a position with Governor McAuliffe's administration, and the special election is tomorrow. And so you have Democrat Richard Rip Sullivan is running, and Republican David Foster is running for that open seat. And there are 8 precincts in Fairfax County, and there are 13 precincts in Arlington County. So if you are represented by Delegate Brink, you have from 6 a.m. tomorrow to 7 p.m. tomorrow evening to get out there and cast your vote. And if you don't know if you were represented by Delegate Brink, then you can go Google on the State Board of Election, and there'll be a little link for where do I vote, and when you fill all that information out, it'll tell you where you vote and who your representative was. So don't lose your voice. As Olga Hernandez said on our first segment, if you don't vote, your voice doesn't count. So get out there and vote tomorrow in that special election. So now I've made my public service announcement. I want to introduce our new guests. They are representing 2 of the associations, 2 of the entities that the League of Women Voters is working with on the meet and greets, and they've got some other projects of their own that they're doing. So we have with us for the Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans of Virginia, Tingyi Oye, I think. Uy. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Tingyi is chairman of the Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans of Virginia. He's a lifelong administrator. He was a social studies teacher, which works very well for civic engagement, I think, and a high school administrator. He was 35 years in the systems in Fauquier, Fairfax, and Loudoun counties. He's also had an opportunity to teach in Scotland on a Fulbright grant and in the Dominican Republic. He was a Peace Corps volunteer in Korea in the early 1970s. He has been everywhere. He is currently doing curriculum consulting and staff development work, primarily to address how Asian American history is taught in the K-12 classes. And we also have Mary Lou Mealy. She is the Public Policy Chair of the AAUW, the American Association of University Women, the McLean branch. So, Mary Lou, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and the AAUW, why you got involved in it.
Well, I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, and my family was very, very active in running for office and also in current events. So I sort of grew up like that. When we moved, I went to college in Virginia, but when we moved here, I was looking around for the federal government. That's a good place to work, and I joined Geological Survey and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency as a mathematician and analyst in science policy for over 20 years. When I retired, that's when I could do something that I also wanted to do, and that is to make my voice heard. I think that's really important, especially having grown up in the 50s. There was a great lack of equity, especially for girls and women. So I found out about AAUW, which was established over 120 years ago, and its basis is equity for girls and women in education and research and health, and also civil rights. I was very happy to join the McLean branch of AAUW, which has wonderful projects for supporting women's education. And also, I was very happy to find out that we could also work with the League of Women Voters on helping with meet and greet, as we did last year and we're doing this year. And in fact, as has been said, on October 9th, we are sponsoring a meet and greet at the McLean Community Center from 7 to 9, and we're going to have the 8th and the 10th Congressional District candidates there. We're looking forward to that.
Well, that should be exciting because those are the 2 open seats.
Yes.
So you'll have those folks there. And are they all coming? Guys, I always ask, as I asked Golda, are they all coming?
The last I heard, they have all responded yes, except Barbara Comstock. So we are waiting to hear from that.
Well, I hope she does come. I know last year she was unavailable for a lot of the meet and greets, and I think it would add a lot if all of the major candidates were there. So I hope she's able to make that. Now let me turn around to the Asian Pacific Americans of Virginia. I'm going to get it together. I swear I will. So first of all, what is a Pacific Asian American, an Asian Pacific American? Is it specific countries? Is it specific?
It goes, ranges generally speaking from East Asia, from Japan, all the way to South Asia and Pakistan. So it includes that whole area. Generally speaking, the Census Bureau, of course, lets you choose. It's a self-identification process of what you choose yourself to be. But generally speaking, in our group, seeks to bring in everyone who's from, like I said, Pakistan in the west to Japan in the east.
That's a hugely different countries to have all into one coalition.
Yes, I think in American history, of course, among the first immigrant groups to come in the late 1840s were the Chinese to mine for gold, as so many other Americans did as well. But then in later times, so many other different groups joined. And I think what most people don't realize is that Asian Pacific Americans are the largest minority in Fairfax County. So it's almost 19% of the population here in Fairfax County is Asian Pacific American.
And doesn't that trend also hold true for the rest of Virginia? The Asian Pacific Americans are really becoming a very large voting group.
It's the fastest growing group. The total population of Asian Pacific Americans is 440,000 roughly in the Commonwealth. It is the fastest growing group. The Latino population and ourselves were a little bit of a competition there.
Well, do the Asian Pacific Americans have specific concerns that other people who just identify as Asian Americans don't have? Are there separate things that your particular organization is working on?
Yeah, I think when you look at the broad cross-section of the people that represent Asia, one of the things that really is different, we do represent a lot of different organizations. CAPAVA, the Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans of Virginia, is unique in it's a truly pan-Asian organization. We seek to get the points of view of all the various constituent groups that we represent. But I think particularly things like healthcare, for example, Medicaid expansion, education, because so many of our citizens here and their children are involved in ESL programs or other kinds of things that are important in that way. Mental health is a particular thing that concerns a lot of people. Small business is another area in which a lot of Asian Pacific Americans are involved with. And historically, Asian Pacific Americans have not been that involved in the politics of wherever they've gone. Right. So it's really important for us to educate ourselves about the political process, but also to educate the politicians and the leaders of the Commonwealth or throughout the country about what our concerns are and what the Asian Pacific American community needs.
Well, I did see on that sort of same focus, Mary Lou, that there was some reference that AAUW was in Congress last week lobbying on restoring the Voting Rights Act. Is that something that your particular branch gets involved with since you're in McLean?
Yes, I was again also pleased to find out that AAUW has a Capitol Hill volunteer lobby corps. And of course, AAUW, first of all, is issue-oriented, it is nonpartisan, and there are many issues for equity for minorities and women too. And this group is totally volunteer. We show up every Thursday that Congress is in session. We get a briefing document from AAUW public policy staff, which are wonderful, about 5 pages, on a particular issue. When we meet, then we give the briefing and we go and visit usually 6 to 8 congressional offices with the message, would you please support or be a co-sponsor for this particular legislation. The last one I was lobbying for was the Voting Rights Act amendment, which I discovered certainly needs to be passed. And that occurred because in last year, 2013, the Supreme Court did away with the old process and criteria for voting rights and actions and processes in states across the United States. And the Supreme Court, in a sense, said, well, that criteria is so old, you have to redo it. So in a way, the Supreme Court was asking Congress to come up with the new process and the new criteria. It was Representative Sensenbrenner in the House who developed this bill, and we were asking people to vote for and to support the Voting Rights Amendment Act. It had almost 200 co-sponsors, but when we were lobbying, it wasn't even out of committee. So in a way, we're still persisting. Things don't make sense sometimes, but we certainly never give up. It was something like Title IX, too. AAUW way back was very, very busy supporter of getting Title IX, and that's one of the things that we can be happy about, but we also have to keep on working because there are still threats to different aspects of Title IX.
That's right.
And I also did want to mention about not only our meet and greet, but also the Mount Vernon branch of AAUW is coordinating with the League of Women Voters for a meet and greet on October 21st. So not only is it just our branch, but it's many branches. And statewide, we have a very active public policies volunteers. And in fact, one of the impact grants we have will be going toward get out the vote for the coming election.
Well, that is extremely important. Now, is your group, are they the Asian Pacific Americans, are they also involved to that degree? I know you're a much newer organization, but are you involved in the lobbying and the get out the vote types of stuff?
Yes, that is one of our primary purposes was, as I was mentioning to before, educate our own people about the election process. So the meet and greet and the whole idea of trying to inform our population about the election process, voting rights, is very important to us. One of the things that we've just recently received was a grant from the Virginia New Majority organization, in which our purpose is to also monitor the election process and do outreach for educating voters in general, but of course our Asian Pacific American community in particular. So that's an important part. It's also been an important part of what we've been doing for 10 years. One of the big events we have is in January, February, during the legislative session. We've organized a legislative forum where we invite the Asian Pacific American community to attend, and also likewise for the legislators to come and get to know us a lot better.
Well, I want to thank you for participating. We'll be back.
Osama bin Laden calls getting nuclear weapons a religious duty.
Today, materials that can be used to make nuclear weapons are stored in more than 40 countries.
Sometimes protected by just a chain link fence.
Yet not enough is being done to lock down these materials
before terrorists steal them. Why did we learn all this?
My mother.
My son.
My sister-in-law.
Were all murdered September 11th.
Help protect America.
Together we can. Please join us.
The stem cell issue is being debated throughout the country. Truth is, most everyone has an opinion, even if they don't know the facts.
Let's stop arguing and start really understanding the potential of stem cell research.
For us and for millions of Americans living with disabilities, get the facts.
Call 1-877-842-3442 for free information from the Stem Cell Research Foundation. That's 1-877-842-3442.
Following the tragic events of September 11th, there have been hundreds of violent attacks against innocent Americans.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
Remember, please stop the hate.
We're stronger when we are united.
Remember what that flag you're waving stands for.
One nation under God.
Indivisible.
With liberty
and justice
for all.
In America, there's either room for everyone or it's not America. Don't pick the wrong fight.
Let's keep America land of the free.
Stop the hate.
Planning a home renovation? Put this at the top of your to-do list. Because after 10 years, none of you are protected against tetanus and another potentially fatal disease, diphtheria. A minor injury, such as a cut or a scrape, can put you at risk for a tetanus infection. And while safety gear offers some protection, an up-to-date vaccination called the TD Booster is the best insurance against tetanus. So get the TD Booster. If it's been 10, do it again.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back. This is Inside Scoop Virginia, and I'm Bettina Lawton, your host. And last segment we talked a little bit about the special election, but now I want to tell you what's coming up in November, because that's what all these meet and greets are about. So we have a general election in November for one U.S. Senate seat, and then the entire House of Representatives is up. So in Virginia, all Virginians get to vote for a senator candidate. Your choice is going to be the incumbent Senator Mark Warner, who's a Democrat, versus the Republican challenger, who is Ed Gillespie. And in Northern Virginia, because we're not going to go through all of Virginia listing all the candidates, folks, we're just not. In Northern Virginia, there are 2 open seats. So you really want to pay attention, because open seats are very, very competitive. The 8th Congressional District, there's a Democrat and former Lieutenant Governor and Ambassador Don Beyer versus Republican Micah Edmonds, who is a former congressional staffer and is now a small business owner. And in the 10th Congressional District, Fairfax County Supervisor Democrat John Faust is running against House of Delegate Republican member Barbara Comstock. And then in the 11th Congressional District, if you were represented by Jerry Conley for the past number of years, you're going to get an opportunity to vote for him again, or he has 4 people, I think, running against him, 3 people running against him. The Republican candidate is named Suzanne Schulte. And so that will be the final one in Northern Virginia for you to take a look at. So I want to introduce our next set of guests. Robert Sargent, also known as Sarge, is a community ambassador for AARP Virginia. I was advised I cannot call it ARP anymore. It's AARP. Now, he's relatively new to Northern Virginia. He moved here in 1981 from New York. He worked at Catholic University for 26 years, first as a higher education administrator in the Student Life Division, and then he was working in the Housing and the Vice President's office, and he finished off as the Associate Director and Business Officer in the Athletics office, and then he retired. And he became involved in 2008 with AARP's Divided We Fail campaign. And he now represents AARP Virginia at many community events, and he also serves on the Virginia advocacy teams at both the federal and state level. So welcome, Sarge. We're glad you can come.
Thank you.
And then we also have Donna Simpson. She is with Zeta Phi Beta, which is a sorority incorporated. She is the social action chairperson of Omicron Theta Zeta chapter in Fairfax, which is a mouthful, I must say. In her role, her primary goal is to seek out activities and partnerships that will allow the organization to increase their community impact through social action. And in 2012, she was appointed to the Loudoun County Advisory Committee on Youth as the Algonquian District Representative. She lives in Sterling. She's the very proud mother of her daughter, Lauren Y. Simpson, who will probably not be happy that we announced her name on television. But that's the way it goes, Lauren.
Yes.
So, Donna, Zeta Phi Beta, yes. I know that it was founded in 1920. I didn't realize it was the same year as the League of Women Voters was founded. Right. It's got over 100,000 members. So you're going to do a Zeta Day on the Hill come September 23rd. So Zeta Day on the Hill is lobbying. What is it about?
Zeta Day on the Hill is an opportunity for our members to come to D.C., go to the Capitol. The purpose is to prepare members on how to effectively advocate and lead in their communities in which they reside. And so we look at topics that are important to our organization, such as civil rights, voter education, voter registration, elder care, and maternal child health. So it's an opportunity to learn, and it's also an opportunity for our elected representatives to get to know us and to know what is important to members in their districts and build relationships with our elected officials.
Now, when Mary Lou was just on, she said the AAUW limits it to like 7 or 8 people at a time, representatives that they visit. Do you do a broad lobby day, or is this targeted to specific people?
It's broad, and we try to get in with as many reps as we can.
Okay.
And so we look for members to come from all across the United States to come on September 23rd for Zeta Day on the Hill. For those members that cannot attend, again, we encourage them to have Zeta Day in their community with their local elected officials, local community leaders. So it still can have impact even if you can't come to Washington on the 23rd.
Excellent idea. But now, Sarge, I want to ask you, AARP.
Right.
So you're no longer the American Association of Retired Persons, which is how I always knew you. Most people know that you do a Medicaid supplemental insurance program, but there's a lot of other things that AARP does. So what is this? There's something called a We Want to Know campaign. I saw some reference to that. I have no idea what that is. What are you all doing?
Okay, well, AARP, first of all, took out the retired persons part of its title because we discovered that probably 50% or more of our members are not yet retired.
I'm not retired, I'm a member.
Right. As long as you're 50, you can indeed join. And I'm trying not to reveal any more than that.
Exactly. We're all eligible and proud of it.
There we go, yes. AARP has many, many, many different things that it does. The things that I think are most obvious to folks are the benefits. Insurance policies, reduction in cost for lodging or for almost you name it. We almost urge people to carry their AARP card with them, and when you check into a hotel or you go to a store and are checking out whatever you're buying, ask them, do you take AARP? Is there any benefit with it? And many people are surprised how often the answer is yes. In terms of beyond that, yes, indeed, we I would very quickly comment upon the fact that we do offer the whole area of able to I'm drawing a senior minute here.
There you go.
But anyway, let's move on and we'll come back.
Well, let me ask you something else,
Sure.
because there was a section talking about federal priorities and something about financial security, encouraging people to vote for financial security.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Well, financial security covers almost the whole gamut of things that we get ourselves involved in when it comes to advocacy. It includes Social Security, which is, of course, a major concern of many of our members. It includes Medicare. It includes the areas in which we want to make sure that folks have planned for their retirement. We want to make sure that they have access to information on what to do with their house as they get older, whether if they intend to stay in their home, how do they make it more accessible for them and safe, or if indeed they plan to go to some sort of a retirement facility, what they need to do in order to make that happen, and successfully so. You did mention the We Want to Know campaign, which is one that I really love, partially because I played a major part in it, but it is a campaign in which we're urging folks to ask questions of the candidates. We set it up. We'll be setting it up at all of the meet and greet events, and we ask people to answer the question, we want to know, and then what it is they do want to know from the candidates. The question has to be a question that can be answered by all of the candidates that are running for that particular office. And therefore they can't be asking the question, candidate X, why did you do X? Right. Okay, it indeed might be things like, candidate X, what would you do about Social Security to make sure that it is indeed available for our grandchildren? Which is one of the things that our members keep saying back to us as we say, what do you most want to have happen about Social Security? And that is the #1 response.
Well, let me ask you, Donna, what is Zeta doing with respect to the voting space because it's a sorority. One doesn't normally think, oh, voting, sorority.
Well,
so what are you all doing?
Well, Zeta Phi Beta, we pride ourselves on being a community conscious, action-oriented sorority. We are made up of diverse, professional women, and we like to have our ears to the ground. And so from a perspective of voter education, that was one of the reasons we reached out to the League of Women Voter to partner with them for a meet and greet. As you know, midterm elections normally have low voter turnout, not only across all the categories of voters, but particularly among African American. And so we thought we wanted to take this opportunity to partner with the League of Women Voters to encourage people, get registered, go out and vote. And these meet and greets are a perfect opportunity for them to meet candidates, to learn where they stand on what their platform is, if they have other questions about the voter process, voter ID. The League of Women Voters, as you know, they are very premier in terms of voter education and voter outreach. So this is an ideal opportunity for voters to come out to the meet and greet, and Zeta Phi Beta wants to continue to partner with the League. We are also going to have an online campaign. September 23rd is National Voter Registration Day.
Didn't know that.
And so we are going to have an online campaign to get that information out there. So we want people registered, but we also want you to use that right to vote. So you have to get to the polls. And particularly, the midterm is just as important as the presidential election.
Well, we really saw that in 2010. You know, you had very low turnout, and you ended up with a very huge shift in our national representatives. And I think in Missouri, the African American community really showed that if they all come together and vote, they can have a huge influence, as they did in Senator Cochran's race out there.
Right.
And so that I thought, I was like, wow, it works. People really need to understand the power of the numbers of the communities.
Yes, it does.
So are you going to be working with people, you've said you're a national organization, are you going to be, both of you, working with folks in other areas, or is this your activity with meet and greets limited to just sort of Northern Virginia?
Well, our meet and greet is just here in Northern Virginia. This is our first partnership with the League of Women Voters, our first opportunity, to participate in this. But we're also, that's why we're going to focus on an online campaign, and we are going to look for other ways to get out the vote message to people that we come in contact with, friends, families. Some of the other events we have, we want to make sure that we always have something available around voter education.
Excellent.
Whether it's registration, voter ID. So we're going to try to keep that in the forefront up until Election Day.
Okay. Well, we just got a few seconds left, Sarge. So is AARP doing this on a more broad basis nationwide, or is this limited to Northern Virginia?
Most of our work is done by the state office, and that indeed we do pretty much organize also by area. Northern Virginia, we're doing it. So in the other parts of the state, there are other programs that they're doing for voter education.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for coming, and stay with us.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me. There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
A lot of great books here today. You know, there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800
Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome back. I'm Bettina Lawton. I'm the host of Inside Scoop Virginia. And we are back with Olga Hernandez. You saw her on our first segment talking about the meet and greets, and she is back to help us understand what is going on with the voter laws. As Mary Lou referenced, there are issues going on with the Voting Rights Act. There are changes in the laws here in Virginia. There were changes last year. People are getting confused, and we want to dispel all of that confusion, and Olga is just the woman to help us do it. So, thank you for staying and coming back on.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you generally, what are the trends in voter ID law or voter laws? I keep hearing that there are all of these efforts to suppress people's ability to vote early, locations, photos.
Well, since the Supreme Court decision that basically gutted Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, many states, like 22 states, have passed more restrictive voter ID laws, whether they are photo voter IDs or just registration restrictions. And so what we are trying to do is get the word out. Virginia was one of those states. And in the past 4 years, there have been several changes to the voting mechanism. We had the ability that if you showed up without an identification, you could sign an identity saying, I am who I say I am. That was done away with. And then you had the state issued new voting cards so everybody would have an ID, but those did not have photos.
Right.
And so the state spent over $2 million mailing those to everybody in the state.
Oh, wow.
Only to the next year changed the law saying we now need photo IDs. And there's a smaller list of what IDs are acceptable.
Right, they cut it way down because last year it included things like utility bills and all kinds of
stuff.
stuff.
Those are no longer acceptable. It has to be an ID that has a photo of your likeness.
Okay.
Okay.
So my driver's license wouldn't count because trust me, nobody would recognize me.
That's part of the problem and now as of August 6th, it even got more complex because the ID, the state wrote into the law that you could get a free photo ID from the registrar.
Okay.
Those free photo IDs do not have an expiration date, which is great.
Right.
Your employer ID, which is also valid as long as it has your photo on it, generally don't have expiration dates. You might worry a little bit if your employer put an expiration date on your ID.
That would be a very bad sign.
Okay, bad sign. So those don't have expiration dates, but your driver's license does and your passport does. And so the new rule is those IDs cannot be expired more than 12 months.
So even
to be
if it's
acceptable.
still, wait a second. So if I get to be older and my children have the nerve to tell me I can't drive anymore, and so my license expires, and it's expired 18 months ago. It still looks like me,
right?
And it's the same address,
but you can't use it for voting in person.
Oh wow!
So, and that is part of the problem. It is going to affect people that are elderly and no longer have a valid passport or a driver's license. They don't work anymore, right. So what do they do? So, and some of these people can go to the registrar's office and get a new identification. but they have to go someplace
but
to get their picture taken.
Fairfax is big. That's, if you're living in one end of the county,
right.
That's quite a trek.
That could be quite a trek. Now, in all fairness, the Fairfax office is trying to reach out to retirement communities to take the equipment to them.
Oh, so it's portable. You can actually go.
It will be portable.
Okay.
But if you are living at home and you're retired, you no longer drive, you are infirmed perhaps, they're not going to go to your house.
Right.
They're going to go to retirement communities. They're going to do some outreach to in government locations like libraries and stuff. They will be trying to do that, but they're not going to go to individual houses. And so that is in itself a problem, because some people don't drive and don't have a good bus. Maybe they don't have the money to do that.
Right.
But they still have the right to vote. So this is part of what the word we're trying to get out is people need to look at their IDs, make sure they're unexpired or within the reasonable time, and make sure they go out and get all that paperwork done. And sometimes that might take organizing with a friend, a relative, or somebody that can take you to some place where you can get this. Now, DMV provides identifications, but you have to pay for those.
Okay.
And the difference is in DMV, you have to provide documentation proving who you are, because those can be used to get on an airplane. The photo ID that's issued by the registrar is only good for voting. You can't get on an airplane with it.
Okay, so if
this is very complicated.
It's very complicated. So if could I take like my expired driver's license and use it to show I am who I am to the DMV, or do I need something current? Because I'm thinking like birth certificates don't have pictures.
Yeah.
So
yeah. With DMV, they have a whole other set of rules that came into being after 9/11.
So what do
but
I have?
You have to. But again, those IDs you have to pay for.
Okay. So these voter IDs, I'm not supposed to have to pay?
No, those are free. And what you'll do is you'll go to the registrar's office, so the registrar will go to a location.
Okay.
They'll take your picture, they'll capture your signature, and then they send that information, make sure it matches with your voter registration. If you're not registered, you can register at that time. And then the state will mail you the ID. So you don't get it instantly, but you will get it in the mail within a week to 10 days.
So if I'm not currently registered to vote and I show up at the registrar's office or the libraries or whatever, and I don't have a photo ID and I'm not registered to vote, what do I have to bring with me?
To register to vote, you don't need to provide any kind of identification. You just...
Well, this isn't making any sense to me, Olga, because I could walk in and say, I'm Olga Hernandez, and they'd be saying, hey, great to meet you.
Now, you are signing under penalty of felony.
Oh, all right.
On your registration, okay? And they are having you put at least your last 4 of your Social Security, which they match with databases around the country.
So there's some way
So there is some mechanism there. There's a little mechanism because they use that information to cross-check with other jurisdictions like DC and West Virginia, and there are databases that they cross-check to make sure you're not registered in 2 places. Let's say you lived in DC, you moved to Virginia, you didn't think of canceling your registration.
Nobody does.
Okay? Because that's not the top of your mind. You're trying to figure out where your furniture is going.
Right.
And so they try to clean up the rolls that way by cross-checking, okay? And more states are doing that, okay? And every once in a while you'll hear, oh, there are, people voting in 2 places. Not necessarily. They're basically on a list because they lived there at one time,
right? And
they never got cleaned off that list.
Okay. So when you go, if you don't have a photo ID that's been good within the last, either current or good within the last 12 months.
Correct.
You can go to the registrar's office or the library, these other public places, and you don't have to bring, if you're already registered, you don't have to bring any documents to show who you are.
Right.
And you don't have to pay anything.
No. No paying.
Okay.
And the other thing is, if you're within, let's say you realize after the registration cutoff that you don't have a valid ID, but you are registered, they will give you a letter saying this person is valid, just so that if that ID doesn't get there before election day, that will be your ID.
But it doesn't have your photo on it.
Well, it will have.
The letter will have the photo?
The letter will have some identification.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it all sounds unnecessary, I have to tell you.
And part of the problem is the state passed this law, only gave the entire state of over 8 million people only $200,000 to implement the whole system, and that includes buying equipment for 133 jurisdictions.
That sounds ridiculous. If you said earlier they spent $2 million just
and they spent $2 million just 2 years ago to send everybody a paper voter card that had the jurisdiction that you were listed on, your name and everything. So.
Oh, it's all crazy to me. Let me ask you about something else, because I also understand, at least in Fairfax County, we have new machines.
Yes, in Fairfax County.
So what are these machines?
Fairfax County has new equipment coming into view. They're still going to, if you voted on paper last time, you're not going to know very much difference. You're not going to see very much difference because it's still an electronically scanned ballot. Okay? But the way it is counted is a different system. It's more powerful, it's faster, okay? There is a way for disabled people to vote in private, which the system that we had was bought right after election 2000. And basically it was a Microsoft Windows-based system. The manufacturer went bankrupt. And so the equipment, like your computer, is your 12-year-old computer still working?
Oh my
Because mine wouldn't be.
I think it's in some landfill someplace, actually.
And Windows XP stopped being supported.
It was a Windows XP product? Oh, good Lord.
Yes, and stopped being supported.
Yeah.
So these machines basically kept, breaking down, and there weren't enough to cover the entire 238 plus precincts around the jurisdiction. So we needed to invest in buying new. And
so is everybody all precincts getting new machines?
All precincts are getting new equipment. The first phase of the purchase has been done because this election is probably not going to be an enormous turnout, although we think everybody should vote. But by 2016, everybody would need to, because that again will be a presidential, and it will be an open presidential year because there's no incumbent. So this new equipment is from the Electronic System Software Company, and they will have a Automark type ballot, and so it's a more sophisticated system, and that will be deployed in November.
Well, I want to thank you for coming back. This has been a wealth of information, Olga, and I do want to tell folks that on the YouTube link, go to YouTube for the show tomorrow, and you'll find all kinds of links as to where you can find the list of the meet and greets, some information about these voting machines. We want you to be informed. We want you to vote.